Okay, it looks like we're live, but once again, this YouTube live streaming beta is not the most intuitive thing. Oh man. On my channel, it still says set reminder. Oh, there it is. Okay, it says I'm live now. Okay, so we are live now. And just gonna give people a couple of minutes to get into the video before I start the discussion. So if you're watching this video after the fact, this video is gonna go up on the channel once it's done. You'll probably want to skip ahead like 2 or 3 minutes, maybe 5 minutes or so. I had the chat up, or maybe this is the wrong chat. Hold on, let me go find the other chat. I would feel really stupid if my mic is muted. Nah, it's not muted. Okay. Hey, whatever that is, turn it off. I just want my chat. There they are. Lots of highs. Okay, let me pop this out. There we go. Now I can see chat. Ooh, lots of highs. Hey, you guys. Hey. All right, let me give you something to look at. We're still waiting for people to come into the chat, but I'll let you guys see my face. There we go. Okay. And the camera is very much so pointed the wrong way. This way. Okay, there we go. Oh, yeah. But, yeah, so giving people a couple minutes to come in. This is a conversation I know a lot of people wanted to be involved in, so I want to make sure everybody who is at least available now gets the chance to come in. So, hey to everybody in the chat. How you guys? Somebody asked for me. How you guys doing today? Just kicking up a live stream. Hoping everything is going well. Oh, geez. I didn't even see that back there. That's going to be taking up bandwidth. Go away thing. Hey, Kick, what's up? I had something running in the background. I do not want that. Alrighty then. Alright. So, as per usual, guys, let me know if there's anything wrong with like the audio or the visual or anything. I don't hear the same thing you guys hear, and I don't see. Well, I do see the same thing you guys see, but I don't hear the same thing you guys hear. And sometimes, if I'm dropping frames or anything like that, just let me know. I do have the fan on right now. I have something between it and the microphone, so hopefully you guys don't hear like rushing wind, but it's very possible. So your voice sounds nicer live than when recorded. Really? That's interesting because I have to edit out the echoes when I record live. I don't have a chance to edit out the echoes. Okay, so I think that's about as good enough of a wait as my impatience allows me to go for. Uh, so let's go ahead and get this started. Hey, hello, how do you do? Shady Durex here, and today we're going to be talking about that infamous Philbert fight. The fight where in season 5, where Bojack and Diane are at serious disagreements. When I made the video, the last video that came out between whether or not Bojack is the victim. Like I said in the video, there's a lot you can analyze in this fight, and you could easily make a video about a bunch of stuff, and I want to make a video about a bunch of stuff, but it's just there's so many topics. I was like, why don't we just go through the whole thing? Why don't we just go through the whole thing, and together we can like analyze and look at it. So that's going to be the main topic for today. For those of you who don't know how the live streams work, it's still a relatively new thing, but basically we have a main topic that we talk about. It's not just me talking. I'm also looking at chat, which is over here, so that's why I keep looking that way. And I do read you guys' comments to see what you guys have to say about such and such, and we just have a discussion about it. We're going to disagree. We're going to agree on some things, you know, as long as we maintain a certain level of maturity. Like that's going to happen. We'll all have a good time. But anyway, we're going to talk about the fight, and I have. Hopefully it comes up. Not that. Here we go. Okay. I have here some. Alright, Labrigno. What does that say? Labrigno. Alright, I have here a scene basically, and I'm going to go through it. It's a couple of scenes that I think are really relevant to the fight from season 5 BoJack Horseman. So. We're gonna go through them and just gonna give our thoughts as we watch through them. So the first scene right here is with is BoJack's speech, which I think is very important in regards to the fight because it's the thing that sparks everything up. So I'm looking to see BoJack become a producer. That moment when he produces, the actor in the "That Went Well" scene shows a side of him being happy with work. Okay, I gotta remind myself to stay focused so that we talk about the subject. Afterwards, we can talk about like a whatever the chat wants, you know, ask questions or whatnot. But I want to stay on topic with this. So let's start this. Oh wait, hold on. I didn't turn on the audio. There we go. All right, let me know if you guys can
the
hear
most
this.
amazing thing about this show is that I'm sure we all have Philberts in our lives, or we are Philberts, you know.
All right, and I am going to be pausing these things basically for a couple of reasons, you know, copyright and whatnot, but I have to keep it legally fair use. I have to edit this thing down so that I'm not breaking the law. And also because like I just want to talk about certain things. That was one of the first things I wanted to talk about was BoJack saying that he is that a lot of people think they are Philbert and that they have Philberts in their lives. And a lot of people technical difficulties. Is the stream not working, or are you just repeating the sentence I said earlier? Anyway, back to this scene. If the stream's not working, let me know and I'll stop and I'll try to fix it. With this scene, BoJack said there's a lot of people who have Philberts in their lives, and consequently, you can say there's a lot of people who have BoJacks in their lives. Personally, I don't feel like I am BoJack, and I don't feel like I have BoJacks in my life. And that's something that's interesting for me, because a lot of people watch this show because they relate to these characters. I said this on the last stream. A lot of people feel like they relate to these characters. I don't. I think it's a good story. That's why I watch the stream. I personally don't feel like I'm BoJack. I grew up being taught integrity at any price. Like even when no one's watching. I also grew up in a Christian household, so we always thought that God was watching. But even then, it was like always do the right thing, even when no one's watching. So, growing up as an adult now, I don't look back on things that I regret morally. So I can't say I am BoJack, but I think it's interesting that he said that, because I think a lot of people do feel that way with BoJack. That they either are BoJack or they know BoJack or there's someone else within the story, and that's how they look at the video. All right, that was just a quickie. Let's continue.
We've all done terrible things that we deeply regret. I've done so many unforgivable things, and I think that that's what this show says is that we're all terrible, so therefore we're all okay.
What?
And this was the scene that kind of weirded me out the first time I saw it, because when BoJack said that, all I heard was him saying, "I relate to Philbert." Like, that was all I heard him say. And then Diane was like, "What?" I was like, did he say something of importance there? Like I felt like BoJack was just saying what anybody who watches BoJack, who watches BoJack would say. So I didn't understand Diane's initial reaction until like what comes after and the fight went on and on. So
And I think that's a really powerful message.
okay, so that's the end of the first scene. And that's kind of the prelude to the whole fight and whatnot. That BoJack specifically said, "We're all terrible, and that means we're all okay." And it's kind of the opposite, but at the same time, the exact same thing that was in the message of The Incredibles, is that everyone's special, but because everyone's special, that means technically no one's special. And saying that, excuse me, jeez, my throat. Again, I'm not a very talkative person, so these live streams quickly take it out of me. But saying that everyone is terrible, I think is a stretch. Because I think there are people out there with good intentions who do good things. Like they go out and they lead what people would consider morally good lives. So I don't think everyone is terrible. I think a lot of people feel that most of the world is terrible. Personally, I tend to be very naive in that concept. I tend to think the best of people and think people want the best for each other. But I experienced firsthand the untruthfulness of that. But for some reason, my mind still goes that way. Which is probably why I lean towards Mr. Peanut Butter rather than BoJack and Diane. Alright, I want to read some of y'all comments. Make sure y'all don't get left behind. I don't feel like the word victim is good to describe the people in the situation. It's a bit of an ultimatum. Yeah, we'll get to that when we get to the fight. This is just the prelude talk. Notice here, BoJack never mentions himself being the victim. He just says that he felt that Philbert was a terrible person, and it helps him realize that a lot of people are terrible. And if everybody's terrible, then how can he feel that worse about himself if everybody is like that? Like he seems to be setting a bar high that no one can reach, let alone him. So he's thinking what he thinks is terrible is actually okay. That everyone is the lowest common denominator, and that there is no good because there isn't any good. So that it's like I said, I don't think everybody's terrible. And I disagree with BoJack on that. I don't think everybody's terrible. When I see a person in a scene who is bad, who I think that makes for good character. And I think there are people out there like that, but I don't think everybody is like that. I'm starting to repeat myself. I feel a lot like BoJack sometimes, but he's an exaggeration of what problems I may have. He actually helps me to better myself and get off the sauce so much. Yeah, see, that's the thing. That's one thing that I was kind of planning on bringing up later, but now you brought it up. A lot of people watch BoJack and it inspires them to live better lives. It inspires them not to go down that path. I said this in my "Is He the Victim" video. Seeing BoJack as the victim of his actions, it makes people think, I don't want to become this. And it is true that no matter how you look at it, it is true that his emotions and all that, they're self-inflicted. And you can stop that if it applies to your life. BoJack can stop that. Will BoJack ever be happy? He was in season 4. In the fight, BoJack mentions that Diane is the reason he feels his actions are... Oh, yeah, I'm going to get to the fight. I am going to get to the fight. I just stopping for comments to make sure you guys are getting... you guys aren't being ignored. Let me move the... Well, I don't want to move the chat over there because then it'll be blocking the video. I think BoJack meant to say everyone has flaws and problems and that's okay, but he said it in a kind of twisted way. Exactly. I don't know if that's what he meant to say, but I think BoJack is meant to represent the audience that generally feels this way about the show. And this is the writer's view of what the audience thinks of BoJack. That's what it feels like. My chair is still squeaking despite the oil I've added to it. What about the moment where Bojack accepts he's terrible? Isn't that a sign of change, the introspective nature of the comment if he chooses to change? I think you're talking about the episode "Stupid Piece of" in season 4. Again, the season where Bojack had a lot of growth. Just for the record, I should have prefaced the video with this, but I forgot. A couple of things. One, when I'm doing these edited vids, I generally try to keep my opinion about season 5 out, and I try to give just a general opinion about what's going on. So that's why you don't always hear me in the video saying, but this is season 5, so that means they did it badly. That was the whole point of that top 10 worst things season 5 did wrong. I wanted to get all that out so I could objectively look at season 5 as if it's part of the canon. And the other thing is, same thing with my bias against Diane. And I don't like using the word bias, but just for lack of a better term, my bias against Diane. I don't like her character. And season 5 was the first season where I said, not only do I not like her character, but I also think her character is bad for the show. So that's going to appear a lot in this live stream. Those two things. I'm not dimming down on my biases in these live streams. Again, I don't like to use the word bias, but who cares? You didn't miss much. We just went over the speech that leads to Bojack and Diane fighting. So we're gonna continue on to the next scene I think is important, and that is Diane talking to Flip.
Oh, you came.
Flip, I screwed up. I didn't know it would feel like that, to be in that room, to hear people cheering for Philbert.
Okay, first off, I want to say Diane's hair is kind of growing on me. Like, I was really upset that her hair changed, but like, especially with this dress, I think it does kind of go with it. I still prefer her old hairstyle, but her hair is kind of growing on me. But yeah, let's keep going.
What are you talking about?
When I first started on this job, I wanted to make Philbert more well-rounded so the audience could relate to him better. I made him more vulnerable, and that made him more likable, which makes for a better TV show. But if Philbert is just a way to help dumb assholes rationalize their own awful behavior, well...
Oh yeah, these aren't censored, so I might get demonetized, but it is what it is. To people who are used to me being family-friendly, I try to stay family-friendly, but these aren't censored. But anyway, I wanted to rewind this part because this is a very important part to me.
Likable, which makes for a better TV show, but if Philbert is just a way to help dumb assholes rationalize their own awful behavior, well, I'm sorry, but...
See, she said, I made this character and I did it this way because it made him a better character. But outside of the scope of my show, I didn't like what it did. And to me... I said this in my top 10. I understand that notion that you don't want what you're making to deliver a bad message. But when you're making your story, you should primarily be concerned with what's inside the story. If you've made a good character, but at the same time, they do something outside the story that you didn't intend, you really shouldn't feel guilty about that. There's obviously going to be some exceptions to that rule. Diane's new hair is bad, but it fits her character. I especially don't like the streak that's on the side. Like, I don't like that. I know you're supposed to like try to avoid some symmetry when you're doing character design, but I really don't like that streak. Like, I don't see the point of it. I think Diane is a very useful character. She portrays individual people who are struggling with being morally contradictory. I think she used to be that. I don't think she's that anymore. She's a great character. She's one that I personally relate to the most, but I don't like her as a person. I've heard that before. I've heard a lot of people say that. Here's the reason I believe, because if it weren't for him, she might still be alive. That's a conversation I just dropped in the middle of. I love Diane's character. I relate to her more than Bojack. Even dare I say, I've been the one who wants to have morals and is with how to deal with bad friends. See, that's the thing. I don't like casting this judgment on people because I think it's an unfair assessment to say this to anybody. But this is going to be true for some people. So, saying that there's a lot of people out there who, because they relate to what a character is doing, they justify that character's actions, either within likability or within being a good character. Like they justify it because they relate to what's going on, and I say that's really an unfair assessment. When even I've seen myself do it, and I try to stop myself when I do it. So I'm like, I relate to that character, but does that make what they're doing okay? And I feel like a lot of people with these characters, because they relate to them, they say, well, this is wrong in this sense because you just don't know what they're going through. You just don't understand. And I'm probably of the main cast most like Diane, probably. I've said before, I'm not like any of these characters. I cannot relate to them anyway. But most likely, I'm probably most like Diane. Maybe Mr. Peanut Butter. It depends. It really does depend on the situation. But I do try to live by high moral standards, and I can't be very judgmentative of other people. The difference between me and Diane is that I don't go around telling people how they should live their lives. You know, if they ask me or we're having a conversation like we do on the internet, you know, a lot of people ask me stuff on the internet about how to live life. Then I'll give my 2 cents. That's one of the major differences between me and Diane. So when people say I just can't relate to what this character, I just don't know how real she is. I'm like, I never said she wasn't a real character. I never said that. I said she's unlikable. But anyway, I'm going off a tangent. We need to stick to this conversation. And going back to what I was saying, I think one of the major reasons I disagree with Diane is because she's looking outside the story. And I understand that concern. You can be concerned with that, but when you're making a story, that should be your primary concern. That the elements within the story are good. That they work. And Diane, initially, she wasn't even trying to teach a lesson. She was just trying to make the character likable. She succeeded. She succeeded in her goal in making the character likable. There's a lot more we can discuss with that, but I want to get through these scenes. So let's keep going.
We can't put this out there.
Oh, geez, that last part. That last part annoyed me so much when she's just like, we can't put this out there. I'm like, do you not understand the consequences of shutting down a big production like that? And you just want to shut it down because you personally don't like the effect it might have on some people's mindsets? Like, again, there's more of a conversation here because there are moments where I will say, I don't want to do this because I think it's morally wrong, even though it's successful. I will say that personally. But I feel like she didn't even think about all the consequences that would go to that. I mean, how much money was put into this production? How many potential careers went into this production? And she's just like, I want to shut the whole thing down. That's such a selfish thing to ask. Man, she is such a complete SJW. I used to really love her. She was the kind of but no voice of reason. Like, I did this with a video with Just a Robot. It was another video, not the one that just came out. But I said, one of the main reasons that people dislike Diane is because she's not only an SJW, but she meets the bad stereotypes. And SJW is not inherently a bad thing. On paper, it's actually a really, really good thing. But there are stereotypes that come with it. And those stereotypes are what people associate with the label. And Diane meets all the stereotypes of that label. It's very bad for yourself and for those around you to be so judgmental to the ones around you. Like I said, I am actually a very judgmental person, but I know no one likes being told how to live their life. And going around openly judging people is not going to help them improve, and that's something we're going to talk on later. I agree with you, Shady. That is selfish. I hate that line because it's so unrealistic. Her character is smart enough to know that canceling the show after its premiere isn't an option. I think it actually is realistic. I think it's realistic to a person who only looks from their perspective. And as I said before, I don't feel Diane has any empathy. I don't think she understands where other people come from. I think she has only sympathy, plenty of sympathy to spare. She will feel bad for other people under certain circumstances, but she won't look at things from their perspective and get a good understanding of them. Being judgmentative is not a bad thing. That's what keeps you alive. I mean, it keeps you less happy because the more judgmentative you are, the more you notice things around you that just aren't going your way, that just aren't going the way you want them to morally. And it can lead to a lot of frustration. One thing I was taught when I was really young was by my dad was that you gotta keep that frustration controlled, not contained. Don't let it build up. You gotta keep it controlled, because my dad noticed that I was very noticeable of details. I noticed a lot of details, and I got angry really quickly. And there's actually been moments in our family's history where people get so angry they black out. So he tried to keep me under control with that. So yeah, let's keep going. I know everybody has a lot to say, but let's keep going. And remember, guys, I will be doing more talking discussions after we get through with the main stuff. So this is the actual fight. So let's brace yourselves.
Hey, did you really mean what you said before the screening about how Philbert made you feel okay about yourself?
Oh, I don't know. I was just...
Because, that's not the point of Philbert, for guys to watch it and feel okay.
Diane, it's a compliment. You did a good job.
Oh, my goodness. Oh, my goodness. Okay, I gotta let them finish the sentence before I start, but...
Relax.
I don't want you or anyone else justifying their shitty behavior because of the show.
What is your problem? Why can't you just accept that something you did is successful? It's connecting to people, and that's good.
You're right. I'm sorry. I don't know why I thought you would care.
That right there. That annoys me to no end. Now, I want to get it out there. I do not fully agree with either of these. I actually think they're almost both the same levels of correct. But goodness gracious, that part right there. Bojack said something about Diane's work, and she said, did you mean that? And he said, well, I was just kind of talking. And she says, well, that wasn't the point. And he said, well, it was meant to be a compliment. Your character is connecting to people. And instead of having a rebuttal for that, she says, you're right. I don't know why I thought you would get it. She doesn't address the concern. Bojack said that was supposed to be a compliment. Why are you... He's basically asking her, why are you upset that I said that? That's what he's basically... And she addresses it off as like, oh, I guess you just wouldn't get it. I should have known. Typical Bojack. You did... He's trying to understand what is wrong. I know he's frustrated about it, but he's trying to understand what is wrong. And you get mad at him because he doesn't immediately get it. He doesn't immediately have the same concerns as you. And that's an attitude I cannot stand with people. When they think because you don't have the same concerns as them, that makes you an inferior person. And not to say that I never get those emotions, but I think it's just a mindset you really should stray away from, because people have such different personalities and backgrounds that you need to consider where they're coming from and how they're approaching. And if you have a concern and then they say, wait, why is that a concern? And you say, well, you just don't get it, so that must make you a Neanderthal. That annoys me. Okay. All right. Let us keep going.
Excuse me?
What is going on with you? You're a mess.
Am I?
I feel like I barely know you anymore.
That line really comes back to bite Diane throughout the rest of the season, because she's going to keep acting like she knows what's best for Diane or for Bojack. She's going to keep acting like she knows Diane. I'm saying Diane. She knows Bojack more than anyone else, and it's okay.
Oh, bullshit. Don't give me that.
It's true. I don't know you.
That again, my bias to Diane is showing, and I told you guys I would let it show. So she seems like a pouting toddler right here. And he says, "No, you know me. Nope, no, I don't. No, it's." It's like she's trying to force him to accept what she is saying. Anyway.
No, you know me. You do.
Then what the hell happened?
Then again, he is trying to force her to accept what he's saying. Oh, but the big one was coming. Everybody's second favorite part. Not their favorite part, but everybody's second favorite part.
I don't know you.
No, you know me. You do.
Then what the hell happened in New Mexico?
Look, I don't know what you think that you know.
I don't know anything. I mean, I know something happened with a girl in New Mexico, and I know it resulted in you coming home in a boat.
Well, that's...
I also know that your old friend Charlotte lives in New Mexico because you used to leave her business card lying around the house.
Okay? All that, so far, that's a creepy place to pause. So far, that's perfectly normal that she knows that stuff, and she's getting amped up, so, you know, it's all coming out. And
I know her daughter is a senior at Oberlin.
Why does she know that? Why does she know that? That I don't understand. Unless she specifically looked that information up because she was curious about Bojack, she has no reason to know that. Everything else, it just makes sense that she knows it and it's just coming out now. I think that was something she specifically looked up for this. Bojack's even going to ask her, like, why does she know that? And she's not going to answer. She's just going to keep going.
How?
And I know you went to Oberlin during your bender 3 years ago because a bunch of students there posted pictures of you on Facebook.
Jesus Christ, why are you so obsessed with me?
I am not obsessed. I wanted to know what happened, and you wouldn't tell me.
And here's the big thing. Here's the big thing that comes out of Bojack's mouth.
You never asked.
Okay.
She never asked him. She never asked Bojack about this thing. Like, she's getting so mad at Bojack that he never told her about this, and she never asked him. She asked one time. She was like, "What happened in New Mexico?" Well, as a casual question, like, and he was like, "I went there, and then I came back." You know, he didn't really go into detail. But if she hold on. All right. All right. So what was I ranting about? Someone was at the door. What was I ranting about? Oh yeah, she never asked him. She never asked Bojack any of this. And if she, like, okay, I keep saying she'd never asked. She did ask once, but it was casual. She never asked specifically about the incident, but she's acting like he intentionally hid it specifically from her. He did hide it. He hid it from the world. But this is... Anyway, I'm fumbling over my words right now. I'm going to play a little bit more and let my thoughts get together.
Hey, so I'm asking now, what happened in New Mexico?
Hello, smile for Yahoo Finland.
See, what I don't understand is why you feel like you deserve to know every shitty thing I ever did.
I don't deserve anything.
That's an extremely good point. Why? Because she's saying she doesn't deserve anything, right? But that's not how she's acting. actions speak louder than words, and she's not acting like she doesn't deserve. She's acting like she should know what goes on about New Mexico. El Brigno, we could talk about exactly what happened in New Mexico, like when it comes. Like I want to stick to the fight, and stick to my opinions of the fight. Afterwards, we'll have plenty of time to ask questions and talk about whatever. But yeah, she's acting like she has a right to know, even though she's saying I don't deserve. Like her behavior speaks way louder than her words.
I would like to know when you've done shitty things.
Why is that your business?
Because I'm your friend, and...
For the record, being someone's friend does not give you the right to know when they've done something horrible. It does not. Being someone's friend, all that means is that you enjoy spending time together. That's all being someone's friend really means. And, you can go deeper. You can, you're willing to help them move. You're willing to help them in situations. You're willing to help them improve themselves. But you just enjoy spending time together. That's basically what being a friend is. What makes Diane think the awards ceremony would be a good time for him to explain? It's not that the awards, she thinks that. It's more so, or why not say, can we talk about what happened in New Mexico later? It's because Bojack brought out something that really triggered her. For someone like Diane, saying that I'm terrible and that's a good thing, that infuriates her. It infuriates her worldview, which is why this fight is one of the more important fights of the season, even though I think it was written horribly. It's one of the more important fights of the season because to accept that you are a bad person, to not only accept, but to say that's a good thing, or that's how everybody is like. Well, not that that's how, but that's a good thing. That goes completely against Diane's worldview. Her entire worldview is that people need to feel bad when they are bad. And they need to feel sorry for those who they have done bad to. Which, as we know, is very hypocritical of her. She doesn't want to actually talk about it. She just wants to be right. I think she wants both. It's just that, again, this goes back to empathy. She cannot see things from Bojack's perspective. She doesn't try, and she can't. And because of that, she thinks that he is being just ridiculous. Anyway, let's continue.
I care about you, and I wrote a book about you, and now I wrote this show for you, and I am very publicly your friend, so if it gets out that you're doing creepy stuff...
I don't understand why they included that. I really don't, because it just makes Diane look horrible. Why would she say why would she lead into that? Like, oh, I'm publicly your friend, and if you're doing bad stuff, it makes me look bad. Like, did they want to just make Diane look horrible? And I'm fine with them making, Diane look horrible. If it works with the story. That line didn't work with anything. It does seem like she's a sociopath. It does. But I'm not going to fully call her that. Maybe sometime in the future. Diane does not want anyone to make her feel bad. Only she has the right to make herself feel bad. That's possible. I haven't seen enough evidence to say I support that, but it is possible. She's called herself a hypocrite in the past. I don't recall her calling herself a hypocrite in the past. She will call herself a hypocrite in the season 5 finale. This is from season 5, episode 10. And I've said before, I don't feel that was earned. I don't feel like she discovered she was a hypocrite. I think she just said it because the writers knew she was a hypocrite. Maybe there would be a reverse of this argument when Bojack finds out Diane cheated with Mr. Peanut Butter. Maybe. I mean, I would really like someone to yell at Diane, like, harshly. And I know that's mean. I know that is mean. But I've seen Bojack get yelled at harshly, and I think it's done him good. I've seen Mr. Peanut Butter get yelled at harshly, and I think it sometimes does him good. Princess Caroline, I don't think I've seen... I think Todd was really the only one who yelled at her harshly. And he, it's Todd, so it didn't have as big of a backing behind it. But even still, that did her some good. I can't recall a time where someone, other than Bojack, like right now, really just laid into Diane. Just like, just was just at her like, you are just, you know. Okay, anyway, let's continue.
That makes me look bad.
Oh, so you're worried about things that I may have done because you think that it reflects badly on you? Hurts your brand? That's your moral high ground?
This is not about moral high ground.
This is about moral high ground. What are you talking about? You came out here because he was angry because you were angry that he said it's okay to be terrible. Like, that's a moral high ground that you have, Diane. This whole conversation is about moral high ground. You can say things all you want, but your actions say something else. What would be Shady's character in the Bojack universe? I'm of all the characters, I'm most like Charlotte. So, and even again, I'm not that relatable to Charlotte, but I'm most like Charlotte. So, just of the main five, you know, I'm sometimes Princess Carolyn, I'm sometimes Diane, I'm sometimes Mr. Peanut Butter. I'm never Todd, I'm never Bojack. Okay.
You want to know about New Mexico? You want to know about the one little thing that I did in New Mexico?
And here it is. He's about to tell her. And what does she do?
Which, by the way, wasn't even really a thing.
You know what? Spare me.
Good gravy, I hate that. Good gravy, I hate that. I hate when you demand information for somebody and they're like, all right, fine, I'll tell you. And then you're like, spare me. No, it's because the reason people do that is because they now have control over the conversation. Like they lost it because the person was about to tell them, and then they're like, you know what, I still want to maintain control. Like they didn't lose it. I don't know why I said that. Hold on, let me. Okay, the reason people do that is because they feel like they have control of the conversation and they want to maintain control of the conversation. So when the person says, okay, fine, I'll do this thing you wanted, they say, no, you know what, I don't want it. And it's kind of like hard to get, where the more the struggle happens, the better it makes people feel. But that annoyed me so much.
No, I'm going to tell you. I'll tell you whatever you want. And while I'm at it, you want to hear about what happened at the MTV Beach House? Or why I'm not allowed to fly United anymore? Or what happened with Sharona, the makeup lady on Horseman Around?
What?
Or the dozens of other shady things that may or may not have occurred in my life that I can barely even remember?
And that's such a good point from Bojack. He's done a lot of bad things, and she's harking on this one for some reason. Now, the audience, know the reason. The reason she's harking on this one is because she didn't know about this one in particular. And Bojack didn't tell her when he was telling her, oh, I like telling you stuff. But he didn't tell her about this. So she's kind of offended that he didn't come to her about this one specific thing. But it really makes her side of the argument look so bad, because Bojack has done so much horrible stuff, and she's harking on this one thing.
Because I was high or drunk or it was 30 years ago.
And you don't feel bad about any of this stuff.
Yeah, of course I do. I've spent so much time feeling bad.
She never addresses that. She never addresses that. He says, I did so much horrible stuff. And she says, oh, and you don't feel bad about any of this? Because she thinks she's going to catch him in 22. And he says, of course I feel bad. I spend so much time feeling bad. And then Bojack, he himself is about to slightly switch up the topic.
By the way, most of these women don't even remember, I bet.
Because that's his point. He's like, I feel bad all the time about it. Meanwhile, they don't even care. They don't even care right now. And that, that ties back into the video with the whole, is Bojack the victim or not? And in case anybody got a little bit confused about that video, let me explain. Let me TLDR it right quick. What I was saying in that video was, I don't think Bojack is the victim of his actions. Because I think it's unfair to say something like death is comparable to feeling guilty. But at the same time, I think it's good to view him as the victim, because the point of BoJack Horseman is that acting this way is bad for the person who does it. It causes bad things to happen to them. And so I think it's good to see them as the victim. That's why I said in the video, I want him to be the victim. I think he should be the victim. It gets the point across better. And the story presents him as the victim. The story shows what all of BoJack's pain as all this stuff happens. Okay, let's keep going.
Well, that's really convenient for you.
I forgot what I was talking about for a second, and then Diane spoke, and I immediately remembered. She missed the entire point of what he was saying. He said most of these women don't remember I bet. She says, well, I bet that's really convenient for you. No, Diane. The point that he was saying, he wasn't glad that they forgot, which really he kind of should be because they got over it. He's saying he still feels guilty and they don't feel anything from that event. They've moved on. And she thinks that's convenient for him. No, it's convenient for them. Because he still, even though nobody else is casting judgment on him, he's still casting judgment on himself. That's his point. You are everything that's wrong with you. Todd will always ring true through this series. Yeah, I agree with that. I do agree with that, which is why I don't fully agree with what BoJack is saying. I empathize with him way more than I do Diane, because I see his point of view. I see Diane's point of view too, but it's such a narrow point of view based on her own perspective. BoJack, from what we've seen, all of this is coming from a very specific place that we've been able to see. Diane's place is just her. It's just her mind where she does. I'm explaining this so poorly. She's not hearing him. She's toxic, and BoJack is better without her. You know, I wouldn't have said that pre-season 5. I wouldn't have said that pre-season 5, because as much as I disliked Diane, I always thought she was a good character, and I always thought she had a good dynamic with BoJack. I thought they were really good friends. But this fight, it does make Diane feel really toxic. Like, really toxic. Wow, that was a cliche. Everybody's here it comes. Everybody's favorite part.
The one who has to live with this shit. I'm the one who has to feel the guilt all day, every day.
So you're the victim here.
Yeah, and I know that's not the woke, progressive, intersectionally appropriate thing to say, but I would say, yeah, I'm the one who has suffered the most because of the actions of BoJack Horseman.
You've suffered.
Yeah, I have.
The most?
The most.
Really?
Ooh, here
More
comes.
than, say, Sarah Lynn?
All right, everybody. She mentioned Sarah Lynn. Have your reactions. So, in the video about whether BoJack is the victim, I use Sarah Lynn as a way to say I don't think he is the victim. I think bringing her up at this point in time was such a jerk move to do on Diane's part. And I'm the kind of person in an argument, I'll say, look, I get that you're feeling some kind of way, but these are the facts. Like, I'm the kind of person who will do that. And even then, Diane just seems cruel at this point. And because she knows BoJack felt that loss. She knows BoJack blamed himself for that death. She knows that BoJack cared deeply about Sarah Lynn and regrets the stuff he did that made her go down that path. She knows that. And she brings it up as a kind of stab wound. Okay, so here's something I really want to showcase, and it's gonna be this entire part right here.
Don't talk to me about Sarah Lynn.
No, I want to know how you're the victim of the Sarah Lynn story.
I'm serious.
Explain to me how Sarah Lynn's overdose was really rough for you.
Shut up.
You feel a lot of guilt about that? You feel a lot of guilt because you were the only father figure she ever had, and when she came to you for help, hey, how you doing?
You folks having a good time?
You look great. Thanks for coming. You had sex with her.
I actually really hate that Bojack and Sarah Lynn slept together. I think that did a whole lot of damage to their relationship and their dynamic as characters. Like, Prickly Muffin is one of the worst episodes, in my opinion, because of that. Like, I think if they hadn't done that, I think their relationship still is my favorite in the show. But if they hadn't done that, it would be such top tier. And it's hard to blame the writers because at the time they were really just trying to showcase how horrible the Hollywood lifestyle was. And they just used those two. But anyway, let's finish this scene.
No.
And then, when she was sober, you took her on a month-long bender, and then she died. And she is dead now. And you're still alive with a girlfriend who is also alive, and a TV show. And that's been really hard for you.
I wanted to show that part because I don't think Diane, at this point in time, cares about Bojack being better. I think in this point in time, she wants to hurt Bojack. And as somebody who... Okay, so there is this episode of House where House gets really, really mad at his boss. Like, really mad. And a child almost dies, and at his boss's lowest point, he says to her, it's a good thing it's a good thing you never became a mother because you would suck at it. He hits her in the place where it hurts the most. And when I saw that, I realized that that's something that people who are good with words should never do. Unless like it's just a really horrible person, which I guess, Bojack technically is a really horrible person, but people who are good with words, which in the context of the show, Diane is a really good writer, and she's had some really good monologue speeches, actually. I would say that, yeah, even outside the context of the show, Diane is really good with words. For her to play with Bojack's emotions like that, I think she lost the moral high ground. I think she really lost the moral high ground to do that, because that felt like an attack, not a you need to be better. That felt like you need to feel bad about this now. And it's something I myself, because I've been considered to be good with words, I myself really try to avoid. Like, I've been among people who I hang out with and I know their weaknesses. And like, I never want to bring those up in a conversation because that means I've lost control of myself. It's kind of like that part in Batman Beyond where Bruce Wayne picks up a gun and he's realized that he can't do this anymore because he has to resort to the thing he said he never do. Like, if I ever did that to somebody, I feel like I would have lost a personal battle with myself. But I feel like Diane is someone who's like proud of this. I think it's a wake-up call. He needed. It's a little harsh, but a girl died because of him. A girl did not die because of Bojack. Bojack's actions helped lead her down that path. Sarah Lynn is an adult who made her own choices. And yes, Bojack is partially responsible for that, and he should know that. But here's the thing. He does. He does. We've spent so much time seeing Bojack's regret of what happened with Sarah Lynn. So Diane is bringing this up in this conversation to be right about this conversation. And she could have still brought this up and did it in a more empathetic way. She could have been, her adrenaline's pumping, both of their adrenalines are pumping, so they're saying really harsh things to each other. But she here's another way she could have brought it up. You're the victim. You suffered the most. I don't think you believe that because of what you told me about Sarah Lynn. And then Bojack probably would have had the same reaction. Don't talk to me about Sarah Lynn. And she could have said, you confessed to me that you regret what happened with Sarah Lynn. And thinking about that, do you honestly think you're the bigger victim? Again, it would be hard for her to come at him like that. Her adrenaline's pumping. She's angry. She wants to take him down. But she could have. She could have brought up the Sarah Lynn thing without stabbing Bojack in the gut, basically. In the heart, really. That was a better metaphor. Points lost. Points lost. No one in this argument is right, to be honest. No, they aren't. They aren't. I disagree with both of these two. I just get angrier at Diane because of how she's handling it. Diane was the instigator in this argument. Bojack saying he should be okay with himself. That's where you start. You need to, if you've done bad things, you need to start by liking yourself. And then you need to understand that you need to be better. You need to understand that you need to be better from this point forward. You can't really get better if you don't believe you can be better. That's why you need to start liking yourself. You need to start being positive. Yeah. Okay, so let's continue.
You, the main character in this story.
What?
That was a good fourth wall break.
Why are you bringing this shit up? Is this fun for you to really rub in?
It's not fun.
See, that's the thing. She acts like she's proud of this. That's why I feel Bojack asking that was justified. Because it might not be fun, but she acts like she's so proud that she bested him.
You win. You scored all the points in the argument. According to facts, you are right and I am wrong, like always. But you know what? I don't care.
And that's the thing, like I said before, even though some people will still argue that Sarah Lynn is not suffering, I think because Bojack conceded that point, like, it's really worth looking at it from his perspective rather than our own, because he was the one calling himself the biggest victim. It doesn't necessarily make him right, but there are other reasons I believe that that Sarah Lynn is a bigger victim than Bojack.
Because I'm trying to move forward.
You haven't changed at all.
Yes.
I'm gonna rewind that part because I was pausing it. But this is a very important part.
You scored all the points in the argument. According to facts, you are right and I am wrong, like always. But you know what? I don't care. Because I'm trying to move forward.
You haven't changed at all.
Did the people who wrote this argument not watch season 4? What do you mean he hasn't changed at all? And the thing is, Bojack's about to agree with her. He's about to say she's right. You're right. I haven't changed at all. You're the last one to get that. Season 4 was all about him changing. It was all about showing his improvements. Showing how he's putting the past behind him. Showing how he can get away from his mother in certain mindsets. Showing how he treats relationships. He wanted to treat Todd better. He wanted to be better when he saw Diane. He, throughout the season, treated Hollyhock better. What do they mean he hasn't changed? I hate when they mess up character and continuity. It was such a good show. BoJack Horseman from season 1 to season 4 was such a good show, and then season 5 came along and did all this nonsense. What do they mean he hasn't changed? How is he different now than season 1 or even season 4? It's not the now I'm talking about. Season 5 feels so forced. It feels so forced because season 4, he changed so much. Throughout the season, he was growing. He was learning that he couldn't stay in the past. He couldn't live there. So he decided to, instead of staying there, tear it down. Move forward and try to build relationships. He came back to Hollywood because he realized he needed to build himself better. That's why he came back and he was like, I don't deserve friends like you, Todd. I don't deserve friends like, I forget who was living down the road, but he was like, I don't deserve a good friend like him. He understood that, and he showed these changes through both his mother, who he resisted the urge to finally take his revenge on, and he showed this through Hollyhock, who he always put first in their relationship. There has not been one relationship in this show where Bojack put somebody else first until Hollyhock came. He always put himself first in the relationship. Even with Wanda, which was one of the best relationships he had, he was still putting himself first. He did things because he did want Wanda to leave. He felt like he was in love with her, and he felt she was making him a better person. So he was doing his best to keep her around. I'm very, very passionate about character and continuity. And that just feels so blatantly broken that both of them agree that he hasn't changed. Season 4 is like, what happened? Yes, Robert, what's your name? Carfang, when Hollyhock came back, he used her to get more pills. In Season 5! That's what I'm saying. This whole season felt forced. Some people say he relapsed. That's a possibility. Some people, they've had some really good justifications of it. They said that it was the death of his mother that really pushed him over the edge. Like he was slowly teetering, and then when his mother passed, he just happened to be on pills at the time, and it really pushed him over the edge, which is why he fell so hard. Christina, I'm not arguing that everybody relapses. I'm arguing the flow. I'm arguing that in the pacing of the story, it doesn't work. A lot of putting Hollyhock first was probably because he thought she was his daughter and he was still feeling the guilt post Sarah Lynn. Yes, but... Well, actually, that's not even a but. Yeah, he didn't want Hollyhock to be another Sarah Lynn. That's why he told her... That's why he told her from the get-go, I cannot offer you this stuff. I'm not a good person, and you should just leave me as soon as possible. He told her that, and he wanted her to leave, but they formed a connection despite all that. And he did think she was his daughter throughout, but that final moment, he realized she wasn't his daughter. She realized she was his sister. And what did he do? He said, you can give this to Hollyhock. I will never see her again, even though he desperately wanted to see Hollyhock again. He said, I won't talk to her. Just, she needs this info. She needs this. This is about her. And I will leave and not come back. That was a sacrifice. He made a sacrifice for Hollyhock. A very personal sacrifice. And you can't tell me... Okay, let me not say that. I hate it when other people say it, so let me not say that. But it would be very difficult to tell me that he's treated other people in his life like that. It wasn't comfortable, but I prefer that he relapses and not magically gets better. I'm fine with him relapsing. It's the flow. The flow doesn't work. The flow is too sudden of a relapse. The pacing of the story doesn't work. And I've demonstrated right here that where they say he hasn't changed. Like, yes, he has. He definitely has. Surely season 4 seems forced instead of season 5. Every other season, Bojack has been selfish, so it makes sense that relapses, it goes back to the default. Change is not what causes things to feel forced. Bojack... At the end of season 3, was in a dark, dark place. And he found an inspiration of hope from what Secretariat said. Keep running, keep moving forward. He did the opposite, though. He went back, and he just tried to stand still in time. And that took him a year and a half to get over that mindset. Like, we saw that he stayed in that mindset for such a long time, and it took him almost dying to come out of it. Because he realized that Eddie, someone he respected and like kind of wanted to be like, he's trying to live this lifestyle. He saw where it would lead him, and he would be just as miserable if he was like Eddie. We saw all of that. We saw all that personally through Bojack's perspective. And again, it happened within a year and a half. That's a long time for him to have to get over that mindset. It's not just instant. And then, that was a horrible snap. Just instant. There you go, good snap. It wasn't just instant, and then after that, we see him gradually connecting to Hollyhock. Immediately, he doesn't want anything to do with her, not because he doesn't like her, but because he thinks she is better off without him. And then what happens? He comes back home. He insults Hollyhock, and she leaves his life like everybody else does. He comes back home, and he sees his burnt microwave. And that reminds him that she did something nice for him. And this is probably the part where you have the best argument. For a reason I haven't really thought about clearly yet. That makes him decide to just go and apologize to her. Probably because there was no Todd. So he was lonely. He had nobody in the house. I disagree with you. I don't find it forced. Bojack is in constant fight with himself back and forth. He has ups and downs. In this scene, he's in a massive down. It isn't poor writing. Then why is there a continuity inconsistency? Why do both of these characters agree that Bojack hasn't changed? Both of these characters who Diane says she doesn't know and then acts like she does know, and Bojack, who's just confused in all sorts of ways. Forgive my sarcastic tone. This is how I get with these kinds of discussions. A lot of people actually, when they hear me like really get into these discussions, they back down because they feel like they're being attacked. And I'm like, no, this is just what happens when I get passionate about something. Can I not talk passionately about anything? Do I always have to use a dull tone? Like, and that's what, in my real life, I do use a dull tone a lot of the times. Like, people who I work with can tell you, like, I barely even talk to them. Because when I get passionate about something, people get scared. People get really scared of me. But yeah, if you don't find it forced, like, what was with that inconsistent continuity break? I haven't realized bad behavior, but it has to feel natural, and then have him feel bad, and then he does something about it. That way, he does bad things again, but then shows he's grown. Diane was mad. Bojack was bummed. Of course, they would have agreed. Bojack hasn't changed, even if they aren't right. I think they're just swept up in emotions. She's trying to hurt him. He's trying to shut her up. That's why he agrees. That's a good point. Maybe the writers wrote them to purposefully be wrong. That could be a possibility. I don't think it is, though, because the atmosphere of this episode and the last episode makes it seem like Diane is supposed to be the right one. They side with Diane in a lot of places, especially in the last episode. They really make Diane seem like the high ground. Maybe it's because Diane is incorrect and biased, and Bojack is self-loathing and held Diane's opinion very high. Well, in this regard, he doesn't hold Diane's opinion very high, but it could be because Diane is just angry and Bojack is just self-loathing. But the tone of the conversation seemed to want to suggest that they believe this. They believe Bojack hasn't changed. I think the reason they both think that is because one of them is being self-righteous right now, and one of them constantly feels like yeah, that's what other people have said. But again, why present this with this? Why present this with Philbert? You know, talking about, because Philbert is obviously supposed to be a metaphor for Bojack, the BoJack Horseman show, or no, not the BoJack Horseman the show. It's obviously supposed to be a metaphor for that. Why bring this up now, if they were both supposed to be wrong? Why bring that up during this conversation where the writers can tell us how they feel about their creation if they were both supposed to be wrong? And nobody's there to point out that they're both supposed to be wrong. I gotta wait for the stream to catch up. I'm waiting for somebody to answer my question. I'm like, wait, the stream has to catch up. Then they have to actually write the answer. Although he's changed in this moment, he reverts back to what he's comfortable with, being frustrated, angry, and loathing of himself. He's overcome with emotion, so isn't thinking rationally in the moment. How are they making her the moral high ground? All this started because of different interpretations of TV shows. Truly a message we all needed. What do you think the next season will bring, Shady? We can talk about that after Labrino. How are they making her the moral high ground? Again, that's probably something I'll discuss afterwards. They felt that people were taking the wrong idea from Bojack. They mentioned Weinstein. I think the way Diane acts about Sarah Lynn is supposed to show us that Diane wasn't totally in the right. I really disagree with the show thinking Diane's not in the right. I don't think Diane is in the right, but I feel like the show presented her as somebody who was. In this argument, it's more like 70-30, where Diane is somewhat right. But I genuinely feel in the last episode they were pushing that she was the right one. How humble do you think the writers are? Do you think they got a monopoly on the show's interpretation? Nobody has a monopoly on a show's interpretation, because that's why it goes against the very word interpretation. But at the same time, I do conclude about writers' intent. Like, I do think the writer's intent has a heavy focus on on the direction the show goes. It's very woke to attack your own audience, your own passionate audience. Look at what Harmon did with Rick and Morty's audience, right or wrong, and this season had a lot of that as well. I mean, I don't think you should attack your audience in this regard. I think you should focus on what makes the story good. If what makes the story good is attacking your audience, then fine. That's fine. Then do it that way. This is something Teen Titans Go does all the time, where they attack their critics, which I would be fine with, because, like, Let's Get Serious was something was an episode I actually really, really liked, because it just seemed to be like they were making fun of themselves and of their critics. But the reason I don't like most of their Let's Address the Critics episodes is because their message is always, this show isn't for you. If the message is this show isn't for you, it's contradictory, because you made it for them. You made that episode for them. So instead of just sticking to what's good about the show, you completely made a completely different show in order to address the critics, which made it for them. It's a contradictory thing. Bojack said Sarah in the rehab, didn't he, in season 1? He was trying to help her, but she was messed up herself. She has an awful mom. I think Bojack just made a downfall. Sorry, it's a little off topic, but I kind of want an episode for Bojack's dad like they did with Beatrice. I felt like it could be a good way to have an episode about physical abuse. The show is supposed to be the ultimate guide to the answer to this problem. It's a journey. They are both portrayed as wrong. She slept with Mr. Peanut Butter when he isn't single. They are not portrayed as wrong. She's portrayed as wrong with sleeping with Miss Peanut Butter, yes. In this argument, I don't see them being portrayed as wrong. And then towards the end of the show, all right. So I was trying to say this for later, but it keeps being brought up. Towards the end of the show, Bojack spirals down. Diane is rewarded. Diane becomes the voice of a podcast. And again, she says, oh, I can't be the voice. I'm nobody's role model. I'm a hypocrite. Those are things she just says. It's not a realization she's earned. So essentially what we get is Bojack goes down, Diane goes up. Bojack comes crawling back to Diane saying, hey, remember that thing you said in the argument we had? Do you still think that? Because I want to think that now. So how does one character wanting to be the mindset of the other character means they're portraying both characters as wrong? And in that final scene, when they're at rehab, you can't... It's one of my things I say all the time, but I hate it when other people say it, is you cannot tell me. I say it all the time. But in the final moments where they're at the rehab place, Diane is being all philosophical and whatnot. the atmosphere and the tone completely shows that she has the answer to this particular problem right now. And she's saying, well, it might not work. And she's saying, well, you can go home and do what you want, or you can see what these guys offer. And Bojack's like, well, why are you being so nice to me? And she gives this speech about how it's basically a speech of, I'm a good person. That's basically what that speech was. It's like, I hate doing this, I hate you, but you're my best friend and you need me. It really is set forward to make Diane look like she's the better person in that regard. I mean, she was in season 1, but that was because she was a third party to the Hollywood lifestyle, but now she's fully involved. Yeah, I agree with that. I agree that she was... Diane could still... Okay. People, characters, can be a lot of different things. It just has to flow naturally. It's like I said in my top 10 things. I don't feel Diane's character is allowed to be the voice of reason right now. She's evolved past that. She's become one of the Hollywood elites, which we see in this fight. We see she's really to pretend like there isn't a fight happening because, that messes up people's careers and stuff. She has fallen into the Hollywood activities. And being the moral high ground, which the show still treats her like she is, even though she hasn't acted like she is, it really doesn't work. Past, he's heard. Some guy brought up a cool point. They said Bojack went to rehab. Isn't that change? Well, they're regarding. I think you're talking about when I said when these two said that Bojack hasn't changed. Bojack didn't go to rehab till the end of season 5, so this is mid season 5. I think season 1 through 4 proves that being a horrible person and still have humanity. The writers were really uncomfortable with that message, hence season 5. Kind of feels like it. Season 6 might explore Diane and what she represents, being the one to punish Bojack, and Bojack having already been hard on himself. Nobody's... the people who were disagreeing with me before, what happened to them? Because I asked the question, I wanted to hear their thoughts on it. If we're supposed to view both of these two as wrong, why in the season finale did Bojack want to change his mindset to Diane's? And why was Diane presented as the good friend, the good person helping Bojack, if they were both supposed to be seen as wrong? Can we just agree the best thing ever was when Diane first meets Bojack and he's the only one to get her costume? No, I hated that episode. I did hate that episode. Very, very much. That's probably my least favorite episode. How would you feel if Diane attempted next season in regards to how you feel about her character? No, I don't want her to die. I don't want her character to die. I want her to get better. I want her to stop and look at her life and ask herself, what would it take to make her happy? Because she has such a hard time doing that. She's the smartest person in the show. She has plenty of assets to use. People, she doesn't have the most money, but she does have money. She's got these assets she can use. She has what she needs to make herself happy. She just doesn't answer the question. And she does like Bojack and goes for the temporary happiness instead of the long-lasting one. That's just a horrible way to go. Like, don't sacrifice your long-term happiness for the temporary one. Season 5 is just the weakest season. I think so too, but some people were really mad at me when I said that. I like season 1. Like, I don't know what everybody's problem with season 1 is. I get that most people don't like the first 3 episodes. Really, I only don't like Prickly Muffin. I think the first 2 are fine. But I really like season 1. It's Bojack Horseman shady. He doesn't care about what makes you happy. Oh, that was a good pun. Why did Diane divorce Mr. Peanut Butter? Because she felt like their marriage wasn't true happiness. She felt like it was a portrayal of happiness, and that you had to really look at it hard to see the happiness. There's neither 100% right or wrong. It's a matter of interpretation. They have ups and downs. You can't view a single action as concrete evidence into them as person. Well, I don't think either of them are 100% wrong. But I think the show treated Diane like she was the right one. Diane is a more hypocritical Bojack, to be honest. She's starting to go down that path. Like, I did not see Diane as a Bojack until season 5. Well, I saw her as a Bojack who made better choices up until season 5. Season 5, she seemed more like a Bojack now. Bojack totally breaks down in his spiral, and Diane pulls him out. I think the finale didn't reflect this conversation. Then why did it bring back this conversation? Why did they specifically say in the finale, do you remember the conversation we had where you said you believed I could be a better person? They specifically call back to this conversation, and Bojack is the one having a turn of heart, a change of heart. Well, the episode before the finale, yeah, just the action of Humble. She is right in many ways. She does care. She has trouble expressing emotions, and this scene is a perfect example of that. She has trouble containing emotions, not expressing them. She has trouble expressing positive emotions because her life was filled with such negativity that she's scared of positivity. She, that whole thing with the pen pal, and it turns out her brothers were just playing a prank on her. She's really scared of positivity. Is helping Bojack at the end of season 5 really a good act? I mean, objectively it is. Objectively it is. But, no, there's no but. It's just objectively a good thing. Is Diane really being portrayed as the good guy? She destroyed every comfort she had and was left with nothing to hold herself with. While at least Bojack... when does losing everything you have mean you're the bad guy? Bojack fell. He didn't lose things. Well, he did lose things, but he fell. He fell into a state that wasn't acceptable. He was hurting people. He was making people miserable again. And he had no control over himself. Diane, first of all, she didn't lose things. She left things. She left things behind. She left comfort behind. She could, if she wanted to, just stay with Bojack. But she decided to leave those behind because she was a wreck the last time she stayed with Bojack. I thought was actually a good choice for her. That was a good move on her part. I personally feel Diane just doesn't know what will make her happy in the long run, and she just keeps trying small-term solutions, hoping that they will stick. I don't think she thinks they'll stick. I think she knows there's consequences to these temporary happiness. Let me unpause on a better
congratulations.
frame. We've been paused in that same frame. Same awkward frame. We can at least have them both in the shot. Diane, that's one thing that ticks me off about Diane, is that she knows the consequences to her actions. She's smart enough to see the consequences. Bojack, Todd, Mr. Peanut Butter, and even Princess Carolyn don't always see the consequences to their actions. They don't always know they're coming. Diane knows them, and she still does them. That's what infuriates me about her. Because I try to look at these characters from their perspective, and I try to empathize. And then I can say, well, you know what? What they did was wrong, but from their perspective, I understand. I understand why they did it in that moment. And then I might say, well, they should have known better, or blah, 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 blah. I can't do that with Diane, because from her perspective, she knew. She knew sleeping with Mr. Peanut Butter was a bad thing. It was going to have consequences. She knew lying to Mr. Peanut Butter way back in season 2 was a bad thing. It was going to have consequences. She knows this stuff, and she does them anyway. The Tony 2101, you said something that I do want to kind of talk about. She got married, but it wasn't what she thought. She left to a war-torn country, but it wasn't what she thought. She just doesn't know how it will actually feel. But the thing is, I was reading something else and I said but. That's something else too. Everybody has things in their lives that could be better. Everybody. That's why I said this in the last room. One of the most important things, if you want to be happy, one of the most important things you need to do is objectively look at your life and ask yourself what you should be thankful for. What is good about your life objectively? Don't say, I feel that this is good about my life. Don't say, I feel happy whenever I look at this. Even though, you could add that to the list. You need to say, well, you need to, just start the list with, well, I'm alive. That's an objectively good thing. And if you have your teeth, you can say, well, I have my teeth. Just start small with basic stuff and then build up. Maybe you don't have the place, the house you want, but at least you got a place to stay. Maybe your bed isn't comfortable, but at least you have something to sleep on. A person, I said it before, and I'll say it again, a person who is always thankful but never gets what they want is happier than a person who always gets what they want but is never thankful. I feel like we really got off topic. Let's finish let's finish the fight. I don't even know if I can finish the fight. Now I'm gonna try.
You are the last person to get that. I'm not going to change. I don't need your help for changing. So you can stop trying to make me your project.
That's not
When I met you, I was depressed because I didn't like myself. And when you wrote that book and sold a bajillion copies.
That is actually a quote I use a lot in my head. I don't think anybody else really uses that quote, but when Bojack says it sells a bajillion copies, every time I mention Diane's book in my head, I just and she sold a bajillion copies. I don't know why, but I think that's hilarious, and everyone should too. Or you're not a true fan of Shady Do-Rags. Peer pressure. Assuming you guys are my peers, which you're probably not. Keep going.
You taught me that as screwed up as I am, that's okay. You did that. And now I'm okay.
I don't believe that's true. And
You're trying to view this in a rational manner. They aren't being rational, so you won't find an answer. Well, it's not that I think they're right. Either are right or rational. I think both of them are very wrong in some regards. My concern is that I think the show was perpetuating Diane being more right than Bojack was in a lot of ways that she wasn't right. And they showcase that, and I think that makes for a worse story. My concern when I'm reviewing most things is the storytelling element.
I don't think you believe it's true. I think you want me to tell you that you can be better. And even though you are being a total asshole right now,
That part was actually the first part when I thought they're siding with Diane. When she said that. Just telling Bojack, well, even though you're being a total this right now, because Bojack could call Diane a lot of names right now, that would be true. They didn't have him do it. But again, Diane is attacking and Bojack is defending. So that's one of the major things. But I feel that line was meant to be taken as a matter of fact. That Bojack is just being a jerk. But that could, I will admit, that could be a biased interpretation.
still believe it. But if all you've gotten out of this friendship is the idea that you should be okay with yourself as you are,
I forgot this part was coming. I completely forgot this part was coming. Oh, I'm about to get triggered.
then I don't think this is a good relationship for either of us.
Diane, come on.
I'm going home.
No, Diane, we're saying things, but let's...
The hypocrisy of Diane Nguyen strikes again. You remember how in last season, how Diane got so upset at Bojack because she said she needed him in her life, even though he was a huge jerk, and that he shouldn't leave her. I mean, she was drunk, admittedly, so, you know. And now she's basically holding their friendship hostage. Now, I do believe that if you think somebody is going to be toxic for yourself personally, you should be willing to just walk away. to just say, if you're gonna behave like that, we can't be friends anymore. I've told my friends this. Well, not that we can't be friends anymore, but I used to, one of my friends used to really be a really sore loser. And I would say, look, if you're going to act like that, I'm not going to play with you anymore. Like, I'm not going to play these games with you anymore. Like, and my friends know there are some things I don't tolerate. But I feel like this is a hypocrisy thing again, because she told him that he can't not be a part of her life. It hurts her too much. She knows he wants her a part of his life, and now she's saying we can't be friends. Oh, man. I don't think it's wrong for Diane to say that to somebody. To say, if you can't change in this regard, then we can't be friends. I think everybody should be willing to do that to people in their lives. I just don't like that she told Bojack he can't leave her life, and then she was willing to walk away as a kind of hostage situation. People are hypocritical. What do you expect? They're flawed. You admit this. Of course, she'll say one thing and do another. She is flawed. Never said she wasn't. I said I didn't like that about her. That's what I said. And the thing about Diane is that, yes, a lot of people are hypocritical. You can find parts in this show where just about every character is being a hypocrite. Diane's character revolves around it. That's what makes her so unlikable to a lot of people. She revolves around ungratefulness and hypocrisy. She is constantly talking down other people when she can't live up to those standards. Diane has used Bojack's trauma against him time and time again for her benefit, changing the script, this scene here, knowing the feels, the need to be accepted by... Yeah, she has. Actually, I hadn't considered that. She has used his trauma, like, every time. Every time he's... not every time, I'm sorry. She has used his trauma a lot against him. That's actually concerning. There was only one time I can think of that Bojack used what he knew about her. Well, 2 times. There was that time in season 4 when he said there was a feminist emergency. That was more of a joke than anything.
Just go back to the party.
I'm done with all of this.
I actually hate what Bojack does here. I really do.
I went to New Mexico to see Charlotte.
He should not have given in. He really should. He should have just let Diane walk off. But, like... See, now I sound like a freaking hypocrite. Like, because I understand Bojack's fears and stuff. I understand that he's desperately afraid to be alone, and, like, he considers Diane to be a very moral person and blah, 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 blah. But I wholeheartedly disagree with him doing this. She isn't flawed, isn't a good argument. Everyone can be flawed, but Diane literally says one thing and feels different and feels a different way. And just like Shady said, her character is revolved around being a hypocrite. Diane is just attacking and defending like Bojack is. Diane is attacking, Bojack is defending. Bojack's not really attacking. He tries to counter-attack sometimes. Like when he says, what, is this fun for you? Like that's a counter-attack, but he's not really attacking Diane. He's not calling out her mindset. He's not saying she needs to change. He's saying he doesn't need to change. Diane is saying he needs to change. Love you discussing Bojack Horseman and analyzing it. Amazing. Love how you even support your opinions. Keep up the good work. Okay, thank you. I think every character has a way of coping. Diane's way is to be self-righteous. Mr. PB is to be ignorant. And Bojack is to... well, use temporary happiness, yeah. Yeah, Bojack's, it's temporary happiness, which is why he was drinking all the time. It was just basically anything that could get his mindset off of the bad things in his life. He's too scared of losing one last friend to stand his ground. She's essentially blackmailing him into this by threatening to leave. See, I don't think Diane's intention is to technically blackmail him. I think maybe a part of her knows this, but I'm just more upset that she told him he wasn't allowed to do something similar. It does feel like blackmail, because it's basically an ultimatum. Bojack is seemingly codependent on Diane. I'm not gonna say I agree completely with that, but there is evidence to support it.
She was married with a daughter, but it wasn't like what you're thinking. She was 17, which is the legal age of consent in New Mexico, and she wasn't.
What did he think Diane was thinking? She was married with a daughter at 17. Like, what would a person be thinking just from you saying that?
Drunk, so not that I wanted to. I never, and I didn't. That's the dumbest part of all of this. I didn't do anything. I mean, the fact that this has turned into such a thing for you, maybe I didn't tell you because there was nothing to tell. Did you ever think of that? I mean, she was my friend's daughter, and she wanted it, and I
see lads.
I was in a bad place because Charlotte had just. So then she came on to my boat.
I think that's just the
Charlotte, and she walked in, and I was with her daughter, but again, nothing had happened yet.
Yet?
Nothing happened.
Goodbye, Bojack.
Diane.
Hey.
No.
Yeah, see, I can't defend Bojack in any way there. Like, he feels like he was wrong to have even think he could do something like that. And there's no defense really for him here. This last part annoys me a little bit.
No. You wanted me to tell you. I told you. You know everything.
Please let go of me.
Diane, please.
You're hurting me, and I would like you to let go now.
That part kind of annoys me. It's something I see where, they'll have this character. It's something I see where they'll have this woman who's very strong and stands her ground until she's physically touched, and then suddenly they're like afraid. And I'm like, oh, okay. I don't know. I can't really comment on why it annoys me, but it felt like the character really changes there. Like when things, I guess most people would change once things get physical. But anyway, let us go back to how it was. That's the end of the video. Here we go. Okay. Ow. Okay, so those were the scenes. We had a lot of talk, so we got some time for some just basic conversations. If anybody wants to bring back any other topics that I didn't really get to finish going through because I was trying to get through the video. He's much bigger than her. Of course she would be. Yeah, I feel like I don't really have the right to feel the way I do. Like, most people would change up when somebody gets physical. It's a personal thing that annoys me. Like, it feels like they're trying to make this character tough, and then when a situation comes where they have to be physically stable, where they're being physically attacked and they still have to be stable, they don't react to it the same. I don't know. It's an annoying feeling I don't feel I have the right to feel. Codependency is definitely the issue here, and it's toxic. Bojack has an issue with being codependent. Diane is weak. I can hold my ground against a man. I don't think she's afraid. Diane's just not used to physical contact with Bojack. Like, that's the thing. If I was arguing with somebody and somebody grabbed me, I'd be like, yo, who you think you grabbing? Like, I would my adrenaline would pump up more. You're like, what do you think you're doing grabbing me? Like, that's what I was saying. Like, I feel like when a person switches up and gets scared when it happens, it feels really weird to me that somebody who was just tough through all that talking suddenly can't keep their fiercelessness when being physically handled. What do you think Season 6 will bring? I honestly don't know. I can't predict the seasons anymore because Season 5 threw me for a loop. An argument and a physical dispute are two entirely different things. Yes, Mr. McGee, but the point I was bringing is that when they're trying to make a character seem tough through speech, it kind of belittles the point when they have to be tough through physical and they don't follow through. It makes the character look not as tough. It makes it look like they have a weakness. That's the point. I think they are setting Bojack and Diane up for a big drama in the next season. They are portraying her as the moral high ground because Bojack sees her like that, but the big crash will come. I don't know. I think some people would freak out with anybody grabbing them, whether it's a person that's big or just somebody their size. Like, a physical thing is different than a conversation. I just feel it belittles the point when you're trying to show how tough a character is. You present them with all these tough talking points, and then something physical happens, and they suddenly show fear. You've kind of diminished that character's emotional toughness, showing that they were only tough in that situation because they were comfortable with it. When a situation came where they weren't comfortable with, it suddenly changes. They're suddenly fearful. I'm not saying people should run around grabbing people and stuff. Like I said, if somebody did that to me, my adrenaline would pump up even more. I like the idea of season about being an addiction, but not like this, where it goes against everything the previous season stood for. By the way, season 5 would have been awesome right after season 3. Yeah, I think if season 5 had been season 4 instead, it would have been great. I think most of the things that happened, it would have been great. Except for Mr. Peanut Butter, I think his stuff was just flat out of character. But I think everybody else's would have been in character if it had came before season 4. Actually, I should specifically say Bojack's and Princess Carolyn. Like, Diane feels mostly in character. I just think that the overall tone surrounding her character was played unfairly. They're different topics, though. She's emotionally tough. Emotions don't equal physical. Yes, I know. Like I said, I think it undermines your point if you're trying to show the character is tough. Diane was holding her ground the entire time. It felt like the show wanted one of the points to be that she's standing her ground firmly against Bojack on this conversational level. But it really puts her in a bad light when things get physical. What they did here was more of a foreshadow. It was showing that Bojack gets physical now. You know, it's a foreshadow to season 11 or episode 11 where things are going to go too far. It's not really that. Like I said, I don't feel like I can fairly feel this way. It's more of a personal thing where you were trying to show me they're tough, and then you suddenly show me they're not tough in an uncomfortable situation. It's like, oh, well, so much for the respect I was going to have for you in that regard. And Bojack's not the only people that do this. A lot of people do this in real life and in fiction, where they're perfectly fine talking, but when things get physical, they suddenly get scared. Okay. I think we get 7 seasons at max. If Bojack gets better, there's maybe no show left. If he doesn't, how long can we watch him suffer? The thing was, I expected season 5 to be like this. I expected Bojack to be trying to get better in his life. He was trying to treat other people like he treats Hollyhock. And he would find it hard. He would find difficulties. It's like when you suddenly decide to go on a diet and suddenly, out of nowhere, every store you walk past is giving free samples of chocolate. Like, that's what I figured would happen with Bojack. And I thought he was also going to reunite with Penny, because that was never resolved. That was never really resolved. That Charlotte said if Bojack ever came anywhere near Penny again, she would kill him. I thought he was going to get Me Too'd. I honestly thought he was going to get Me Too'd. That didn't happen. I thought Penny and Hollyhock were going to become friends because they're both in college now. That didn't happen. Like, there are a lot of interesting stories that could go with Bojack trying to be better. Bojack being better and then trying to stay better, I should say. No, I have not watched Long Beach Griffey. I've never heard of it. Well, we're not on topic really anymore. Zodiac. This is like the afterthought. We're done talking. We can still go back to talking about it. You're saying they made Diane to be a victim? I'm saying her tone suddenly shifted to becoming a victim. It's something I personally find annoying when people do that. And it's not just characters, when people do that. It seems to me like you're comfortable when you're in a comfortable situation, you're willing to display your tough side. But when it's a situation you're not comfortable with, your toughness suddenly goes away. That's not the right word. It's I don't know, it's weird. Bojack could be better, but still have to deal with the mistakes he made. If Penny's story comes out, it could ruin him. The question is, does he deserve it? It wouldn't ruin him if Penny's story came out. It would ruin him for a while. They went through with that in what was it, episode 4, season 5? It wouldn't ruin him. That's why I wanted Penny and Hollyhock to become friends, because it would ruin Hollyhock if it came out. That is something Bojack deeply cares about. Like, he wouldn't care if it ruined him. Bojack barely does any work as is. He's only doing Philbert because Princess Carolyn made him. He would care, though, if it ruined Hollyhock. He would really care. Are you interested in watching Tuca and Birdie? I've never heard of it. It's by Lisa Hanaway, the producer, production designer of Bojack. Not really. That's not enough for me to get interested in something. The producer of a show? It's not really. If they were the writer, the director, or if they produced multiple shows that were good, then yeah. He was trying to do better up until his mother died. Unfortunately, he went to the wrong place for the wake, and his friends didn't hear free churro. Then Diane changed the script for the show. Maybe duality of physical and emotional is an example of said hypocrisy. I think it's an example of just fakeness, really. It's easy to be tough in a situation you're comfortable in. It's very difficult to be tough in a situation you're not comfortable in. Which is why I said I don't like it personally. It's not that it's really a bad character thing or anything. I just don't like it. Hey, Misty, welcome to the stream. I was just talking about something I didn't like, and all the chat is like, well, Shady, you're stupid for not liking that thing, stupid head. I've experienced a situation like this where I was physically restrained with a woman on top of me when I tried to leave her house to escape a situation when I was 16. Heavy stuff. Y'all gonna get me demonetized. It's fine. I don't really care that much about the monetization for live streams. Now watch. Now that I said that, watch this get like 1 million views. And no other video. Penny likely moved on. She seemed happy in college. Yeah, I think she did too. I think that was the point of that. I think she had put it in. I think she had come to grips with that. It was in her. Like, I think it was uncomfortable for her. Like, she realized she almost made a terrible mistake. Maybe. I can't even justifiably come to that conclusion. Okay, let me say it like this. If there was some scarring, if any scarring happened, Penny eventually came to the realization that it was in the past. That she didn't have to really live with that, and she moved forward. It really didn't seem like there was any scarring. It's just that when she saw Bojack, she was like, oh no, he might be here for me again. Just because my mom's not around or something like that. Alright, take care, Mr. McGee. Appreciate your disagreements. Like, people discuss with me, you know. We're gonna have disagreements. Do you guys think Bojack is more likely to end with him having spiraled down, or will he be on top of the world? It's more likely to end with him spiraling down, but I don't know. It's difficult to say where it will go. Watch this get a bajillion views. Exactly. You get a gold star. Banned against humanity. I felt as though Diane helped to heighten the Penny thing, and her actions immediately had proved Bojack of his earlier point and continued to destroy his mind. Separation of Philbert and his life. She has a right to be uncomfortable, but she hit below the belt. Yeah. Wait, what are we talking about? We're talking about Diane, right? I've only just joined the stream, but I got an idea about season 6. I've been tossing around, but I'd like you guys' thoughts on it though. All right, Spill. We're in the chill part of the stream now, where we just talk. We talk until basically I either get tired or run out of time. Because yeah, I do have other things I have to get done today. And for everybody asking if I'll put this live stream as a video, like, I feel like YouTube does that automatically. Because like, people go back to the other video and they comment on it. Like, doesn't YouTube do that automatically now? As long as I don't tell them not to. I know it doesn't really show up on phones though, so. Would Diane or Bojack be happier living in poverty and want? Well, it's not really much. It's not about how much you have. It's about what you do with what you have. Having nothing wouldn't make them any less or more miserable. Since Princess Caroline now has adopted a child, I think that PC has a bit of a need to take care of something, which is usually Bojack. I'm wondering if season 6 is going to be the season that causes PC to drop the neck. Oh, that's actually possible, yeah. Can you imagine if Mr. Peanut Butter does it? Like, what could happen to get Mr. Peanut Butter to do that? We've already had, like, the massive Bojack Mr. Peanut Butter fight, and he immediately forgave Bojack. What could possibly happen that'll make him just cut all ties with Bojack like that? Can we talk about Flip trying to remove Bojack's robe scene? I thought that was going to come back at some point in a very Me Too way. Just thought it was setting up something. I mean, we could talk about it, but I didn't really think it was going to lead back to anything. I was kind of shocked Bojack did it. It was just Phil going on a power trip because he was the director/writer. Did PC really name the baby Untitled Princess Caroline Project? Oh my goodness, if she actually did, because I obviously thought everybody took that as a joke, but what if they were serious? Maybe an argument over PB cheating on Pickles, but I'm unsure as to how that... Oh, I hate the whole Pickles situation. I hate that so much. It so feels out of character for Mr. Peanut Butter to both cheat on Pickles and then lie about it. That feels completely out of character for him, in my opinion. And I hate that stupid trope. Oh, lying only makes it worse. You shouldn't have lied. I hate that trope. Oh, by the way, this is probably going to be the last video for a while that I talk about BoJack Horseman. Unless something like really inspiring pops up. Because I've done, like 3-4 BoJack Horseman videos in the past month. And I did one on Just the Robots channel. Yeah, and there are a bunch of videos that I want to get to. I actually want to do a different video this week than this live stream. But starting next week, I'm going to have a bit more time to work on YouTube videos, and the next video that comes out, I wanted to dedicate a bit more time to it than trying to rush it out through the weekend. But yeah, I might be able to get a Miraculous video out. I'm debating on that because right now the channel's, because the last video I released was a BoJack video, a BoJack analysis at that. The channel's doing better, and Miraculous videos are actually very toxic for the channel. Like literally, I lose subscribers every time I upload one. Then why do you still upload them, Shady? Because I like doing them. I love doing the Miraculous videos. But yeah, if anything, there will be a Miraculous video, but there probably won't be a video this weekend. It'll just be this live stream. And yeah, I'm probably not going to do BoJack Horseman for a good little while. I might do it in a nutshell. Like, the in a nutshells are fine. But I've done a lot of BoJack over the past month. The pickle situation feels like the creators grabbed a hammer and broke PB's character like a bajillion times. That's how it felt like with all of Mr. Peanut Butter's booze. Why do you think Diane's smarter than Princess Carolyn? Because she acts like it. Because everybody says it. Diane might not be smarter than Princess Carolyn, but Princess Carolyn doesn't act like an intellectual. She acts like a normal person. Diane acts like an intellectual. You mean break or put nuance into his character? Well, I meant break. I don't feel season 5 Mr. Peanut Butter is something that naturally came from season 4 Mr. Peanut Butter. But then that's how I feel about most of season 5. And many of you disagree with me on that, which is why I'm now banning several accounts. I can't take criticism. Princess Carolyn and Bojack would end up together. I think having a kid could be good for Bojack. It was good for Bojack when he thought Hollyhock was his kid. I don't think they'll end up together because Bojack does not have romantic feelings for Princess Carolyn. Bojack has never had romantic feelings for Princess Carolyn. He was only with her because she made him feel really good. I actually really like Miraculous, despite a lot of the show is the Villain of the Week format. I mean, I'm fine with Villain of the Week formats. My major issue with Miraculous is it's bad continuity and character, and mainly it's consistency. How's it out of character for him? I keep on hearing this from people who complain about the later seasons of BoJack, but they don't get is that the writers are just putting nuance into the characters. Well, I've said this in my top 10 things, my top 10 worst things about season 5, and that's that there's a difference between a character feeling out of character and a character just changing. And what needs to happen is it needs to feel like a natural flow. Mr. Peanut Butter doesn't feel like a natural flow. A lot of the things he did in this season were things he specifically didn't do in other seasons. Like they said, well, you just don't hear what people are saying. When we've shown that Mr. Peanut Butter... No, they said you don't listen to what people are saying. And we've been shown Mr. Peanut Butter actively listens. He just... To the women in his life, not to everybody. To the women in his life, he doesn't hear the important things. And Mr. Peanut Butter, afraid to give the bad news to Pickles... That's her name, right? Not Bubbles. To Pickles, when in past seasons, he's just blurted out bad news. In season 5, he blurted out bad news to Diane. Diane, I don't know how to tell you this, but I'm seeing someone who is not you. That probably wasn't the best way. He does that. He just blurts out bad news, but for some reason, he not only didn't do it, but lied about it this time. Like, dude, you say this is the talking part, but every time I ask you an off-topic question, you ignore it. That's because a lot of people are talking. I didn't ignore that one. I read a thing, and then I look at the camera, answer the question, and I look back, and there's 10 more questions. So I apologize if I don't get to all of them, Mr. Snippy. Oh, I just assumed your gender. I'm sorry. Well, actually, no, I think he's only answering what's relevant to his channel. I mean, I'm answering the questions I see. That's what I do. I look at the screen and I answer, and I read something and I answer it. What's going to happen with Gina? Probably nothing. We barely ever see Bojack's love interest after they move on. Well, should I say, yeah, we didn't see wow, I can't remember the owl's name. Well, we didn't see her. We haven't seen her yet. We barely saw Anna, whatever her last name is, Cobra or whatever. We barely saw her. So I don't think we're really gonna see Gina again. I'd kind of be on board with an analysis of a full episode if you're up for it. If you're talking about live streams, I cannot. Wanda, yeah, that's her name. I cannot show an entire episode on a live stream. That would go that. It probably wouldn't technically go against fair use, but it would heavily go against the third policy of fair use, showing the entire thing. Also, sorry for assuming about the question stuff, Shady. My bad. And I was just making fun of it. You're fine, man. Don't even worry about it. What's your favorite JoJo stand? I've never seen JoJo. Will Todd ever make that rock opera? Probably in the season finale or the series finale. How could you forget Wanda, you filthy heathen? I don't know. Especially considering I said her name, like, what was it, like 2 hours ago? I feel like I made some enemies with this live stream. Because I was very passionate about a lot of my opinions. Which I tend to leave a lot of my passion out of my tone in my videos. I tend to keep a neutral tone as well as a neutral script. For BoJack Horseman. For everything else, I put emotion and passion into. But you guys don't watch those. You watch the BoJack Horseman stuff. Nah, I didn't mean a full one on the live stream. I meant more of a video analysis. But yeah, YouTube guidelines are really restricting. In either case, yeah, I don't. When I make these videos, I tend to go with what I'm passionate about. So if there's an episode I just really want to talk about, then I'll talk about it. The only episode I would probably really want to talk about is maybe Brat Brat Pew Pew, just because I hate that episode. But like other than that, there hasn't been an episode that I really want to talk about that I haven't already. Like Mr. Peanut Butter's Booze was another one, but I already talked about it. The forgetting Wanda thing was a joke, by the way. Oh, I never would have realized it if you hadn't told me in all caps. I love you. Okay. You guys really shouldn't be too afraid of what you say, as long as you follow YouTube guidelines. I personally don't like swearing, so if you swear, I'm not going to take your comment as serious, but it's like, I still don't really censor people that much. I'm trying not to censor jokes. There was one joke I had to let stay hidden, and that's because YouTube's algorithm probably would have got mad at me if I let it slide. I'm late. 'Twas at the doctor's office. What did I miss? Well, you missed where I said I specifically started this stream so that we can do this without Emily OR. Looks like we failed, guys. Gotta pack it up. Nah, we talked about the fight from Bojack and Diane and Philbert. It got personal in some places. We're just relaxing now, talking to each other. I have some sweaty armpits. Don't look at them. Do you only get one F-bomb like that in the show? Well, there's been 4, I think, so far. I don't think any... Oh, no, somebody did say it in... No, nobody said it in season 4, I don't think. Yeah, I don't think anybody said it in season 4, which really Eddie should have said it in season 4. Alright, take care, Zolodiac 7. That was fun to say. Yeah, I feel like somebody did say it in season 4. I just don't remember who. Oh yeah, Bojack. That's I couldn't remember. Bojack said it. Oh man, yeah. Welcome to the stream, Arif. Yeah, season 4 and season 5, I missed the bomb drop. Um, I think it would be superfluous to add a new character since we already had Gina. At this point, I would like BoJack to get better, and then somebody who isn't improving says it because BoJack is better and they're not improving, like either Diane or Mr. Peanut Butter. You know, just to mix things up. Yeah, they tend to they've mixed it up the past couple seasons because BoJack did it in season 4, and then Gina, a side character, did it. A side character with no relevant history. I mean, Charlotte was a side character, but Gina didn't have any relevant history. All right, Gabriel, take care. Thanks for stopping by. Oh, I'm sorry, Sean. Yeah, these live streams, I still don't have them completely worked out yet. So I basically Fridays are the times I have the most time to do stuff, but at the same time, the evenings are I'm still busy with other stuff. So I go for the afternoons basically, and I know not everybody's home yet and stuff like that. So it's not the best of both worlds, but we'll see. Yeah, I don't even see Gina coming back. I mean, I love Gina in season 5, but Gina was the best thing about season 5. But I don't really see her coming back. She did her job basically as a character. She has done her job. Is Philbert over? Yeah, Philbert's done. Are you talking about the Philbert conversation we were having? Because yeah, that's done too. I mean, if you have any more questions about it, you can ask them. But we're done with the main conversation. Kind of depressing that there is only 47 viewers. Not really. Perhaps due to the fact that the majority of individuals are available to watch your illustrious video. It's 47 is still a pretty decent number for a live stream. Like you get pretty decent activity. I mean, obviously these aren't. I'm not a 100,000 subscriber channel. I got 10,000 people, so that a random live stream, I didn't announce it, and people are actively in the chat. 50 people is plenty. Like I used to live stream on Picardo, and I would get like maybe 5 people on a good day, on a really good day. I think it was a little normal for him to make another bad choice, and since Bojack is going into rehab for his abuse, it would kind of make sense for there to be another abuse episode 11 or something like that. But I hope it doesn't come to that. How would you end the show with Bojack with something really bad happening to Bojack, him walking to a bar, and the bartender says, "Why the long face?" I did not come up with that ending. That's a very popular fan theory, but it works so perfectly. I want it to happen. Oh, sorry, man. Just a statement. I love your content, man. Well, if you love it so much, why don't you marry it? Yeah. Hashtag 90s kid. Yeah, I'm a 90s kid. uh, I just came on, so sorry if y'all already touched on this, but I'm so glad Princess Caroline's finally a mom. Yeah, I am too. I think of all the characters, of all the main characters, she deserves happiness the most. She's worked the hardest for it, unlike Mr. Peanut Butter. And she has a lot of the good assets. She's got a good mind on her shoulders too. So The only thing that's really stopping her from being happy is just bad luck. That's the only thing that stopped Princess Carolyn. And the decision to stay with Bojack, but other than that. How about the rest of the characters? How would you end their stories? Mr. Peanut Butter would either take the secretariat route, or he would prove that there are some people the Hollywood depression can't get to. Either or. Somebody found a really poetic way of Mr. Peanut Butter staying alive and still being happy. So that would be one. Princess Carolyn's story basically to me is over. Like, she's going to go through the obvious arc of choosing between her kid and her career. But I don't really see anything interesting happening. Todd could maybe make his rock opera. Maybe. I don't know. I feel like something's stuck on my cheek. Diane, I'm not sure how I would end hers. Ultimately, what I want is... Oh! You know what would be good for Diane? If she's going to be doing video podcasting in the next season. She needs to have a critic. And I don't know if I want this to be the end of her story, but I want this to be part of her story. She needs to have a critic who doesn't like her videos, who calls her videos out. And then she meets the critic, and the critic's actually a nice guy. Like, and they legit ask her point of view, and they try to empathize with her. And I don't want any backstabbing. Like, I want there to be a legitimate nice guy who just doesn't like Diane. Who just calls her out on her nonsense. Or it could be a girl, whatever. Doesn't matter. Like, somebody who's legitimately nice, and they just call, but on the screen, they call her out on all her nonsense. And so she's like so confused, she doesn't know what to think. Like, how could somebody who has a good head on their shoulders with a nice personality be treating her like this online? Like, I think that would be really good for Diane. That's not where I want her to end, but I just really want that story. Do you think Mr. Peanut Butter will actually marry Pickles and go along with it, or is he going to stop it and breaks up with it? I hope he just tells her the truth. Honestly, I don't really care for Pickles that much. Her character is more annoying than anything to me. But I think she serves a very particular purpose, and that is just to show another side of Mr. Peanut Butter to Mr. Peanut Butter. Which kind of, eliminates the whole Mr. Peanut Butter's uniqueness as a character. What if PC gets so consumed in her work that she gives up her adopted child because she can't take care of her? I'm pretty sure it's a girl. And I don't think that's going to happen. I think... I think she's just going to have to realize she's going to have to make sacrifices from her work like Rutabaga did. Because Rutabaga, he was still a good... Is that critic theory of self-insert shady? Yes, it is. It 100% is. I am not even gonna lie. That is 100% a self-insert. But with Princess Caroline, I think she's just going to be like Rutabaga, who realized that he can't put his all into his job. He can go to work, he can be the best agent he can while he's at work, but then once it's time to go home, it's time to go home. You got a family to be with. And if your job suffers for it, well, your job suffers for it. It probably won't happen since she's the type of person who can't handle free time, so she'd also be taking up time with her baby. But again, just a thought. Well, I know an entrepreneur who has a baby, like, but they're not Princess Carolyn busy. That's the thing. Princess Carolyn puts all her time into her work because that's basically who she is at this point. So she's gonna have to learn to put that aside. Wasn't that Diane's ex-boyfriend from season 1? No, he was mean. Wayne was mean. That's why Diane got away from him. I kind of like thinking about the darker possibilities in Bojack, despite it being possibly unrealistic. I don't really care about the darker or lighter. I just want a good story. That's all I want. If the story is told well and it goes towards a lighter ending or a darker ending, it's fine. That's why I got into BoJack Horseman. It's a really good story. I mean, she certainly is a prideful woman. Princess Caroline, yeah. Bojack and Diane are most likely to end up miserable. Do they decide to be miserable together? Yeah, there was one quote that Bojack said in the free churro. He said his relationship with his parents, they felt like they were all drowning. My stomach is growling. They felt like they were all drowning, but they were drowning together. That's not how I see their relationship. I felt like that was Bojack's relationship with Sarah Lynn. They were both drowning, but they were drowning together. That's what it felt like. I feel like Bojack's relationship with his parents, where they were drowning and they didn't want anyone else to know they could swim. That's how I feel that. I mean, how much darker can it get than that and strangling your co-star on set? I mean, it could get much darker than that. Who do you think is the best side character in the show other than Sarah Lynn? Well, Sarah Lynn was going to win that. Other than Sarah Lynn. Side best? The one I like most is obviously Charlotte because she has figured out happiness. But the best? Maybe Turtle Top? He does his job very nicely as a side character. And whenever, they need a new show to make, they can use him as a MacGuffin. So, yeah, Lenny Turtletop is probably, I'd put up Gina for yeah, Gina. See, the thing is, Gina, I forgot she was a side character. That's why. I completely forgot Gina was a side character. She's so good, I feel like she's a main character. I mean, she is technically a main character of season 5. Of the season she's in, she's a main character. But then, technically, so is Wanda. Wanda's a really good one. The entire Staxotto family. Staxotto. Otto. Are you talking about the Todd's girlfriend's family? I think that's what you're talking about. Todd's girlfriend's family. How many times have you watched the show? I'd say I watched through the whole thing twice, and I've seen multiple scenes a lot of times because I have to edit videos and when I'm writing scripts, I have to research stuff. But I've sat down and watched the whole series 2, maybe 3 times. Probably 2. You kind of need those entertaining side stories to create a contrast between the constant depressing and dark episodes the show had. Yeah, comedy relief. Is actress Margot Martindale, to be honest. Yeah. Are you going to watch Tuca and Birdie? I think it's the same universe as BoJack Horseman, or an alternate universe. Probably not. It's like I said in the last video. While I don't mind adult cartoons, some of them I will watch if they're on. I don't actively seek them out. I didn't watch a lot of them. I was going to say growing up, but even in college, I didn't watch a lot of them. I'm just waiting for the day in the show and they make him an orangutan. I would say Peanut Butter. He is a main. Could you say Peanut Butter has taken over Todd's slot as a main character? Not really. Todd still plays pretty much the same role. Todd's pretty much just there just to be the goofy, the comic relief basically, who has some problems. He's the guy who gets into wacky shenanigans. The other characters don't get into wacky shenanigans that much unless Todd is there. The shenanigans are usually treated pretty serious on their end. Who's PB's boyfriend? He doesn't have a boyfriend. Is Todd the wisest of us all? No. Todd's wisdom, they try so hard to make sound like genuine wisdom, but it's done for laughs. He's not really wise. There's only one time he was like really wise, and he took that speech from Princess Carolyn. Todd is the most willing to help, I think. Princess Carolyn might give him a run for Mr. Peanut Butter. Yeah, but Mr. Peanut Butter, I don't know. That's a thought for another time. Oh, are you talking about Pickles then? If you're talking about his girlfriend. Whew. Alright, I can feel myself winding down. So if y'all got any really pertinent questions you want to get done before the stream was over, ask them now. I miss my mascots. A lot of people asked them. A lot of people were saying they wanted to. They didn't like them, so I took them off. I miss them so much. Oh, PC's boyfriend. Oh, you mean Ralph, which is her ex-boyfriend. One of his main character traits is that he needs a task all the time, so that's why he's so helpful. Well, when he first started, he didn't do anything. That was the thing. He just got bored, though. Lots of people think Todd really doesn't matter in the show. Do you think the show would feel the same without? No, he's good. He's good comic relief. I'm just less interested in his character because of that. I mean, Todd, the episode 4, which was about Todd, is the episode that got me hooked on to Bojack. Season 1, episode 4. Excuse me. Todd was like the Forrest Gump in season 5. He applied for janitor position and he became CEO. Super important question. Are you going to relax after the stream? Probably. I do have some work I need to get done before the weekend is over. I'm probably going to do it tonight, but probably not immediately. Oh, I have to... my sleep schedule is going to change, so I'm probably going to be like up all night tonight. I have to force myself to be up all night so that my body can get used to my new sleep schedule. So if I don't relax immediately after the stream, I will for the rest of the night. Be trying to stay awake. I'll probably just be playing Skyrim. Why didn't PC want Ralph to be around? I don't know. They said it's because she wanted to do things by herself, but doesn't really make sense to me. Alright, everybody seems to be just about ready to go, as well as I am. Or maybe they're just being very supportive of my tiredness. Which I am kind of tired, but yeah. Oh, thank you guys so much for stopping by the stream. You know, people in the stream makes the stream a lot more fun. Thank you guys for hanging out with me and indulging my my shenanigans. Hopefully we could do this with something else. Again, I'm gonna have more time to work on videos, so I probably will be able to keep my one video a week schedule now that my schedule has changed. But we'll see. If not, then I'll think of something else we could do. Because this was fun. And even the people who disagree with me, like I said, I get passionate about stuff. And if you disagree with me, I'm going to direct that passion towards you. But I still encourage people who disagree with me to like challenge me on my thoughts. You know, it's no fun if we all just agree with each other. It's not interesting. Go nuts. And if that be all, I think that's all I got to say. And so I must do what must be done. This has been Shady Durags. So long. Farewell. Auf Wiedersehen. Goodbye.